Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Free Roam podcast, the podcast where we explore the whole world of gaming by interviewing people from across the industry. I'm your host, Fixer, but you can call me Corey, and in this first inaugural episode of the podcast, we have on my friend MavriqGG. He's a TikTok content creator that's currently doing a lot of good work for the Call of Duty community, and we're talking to him today about FPS games in general, as well as his journey into content creation and his previous jobs in video game business development at Activision. If you're interested in game development at all, sales, marketing, or just want to learn more about TikTok content creation, I think you're really going to enjoy this podcast. Feel free to leave a comment down below with future guests you'd like to see on the podcast. Oh, and if you don't want to watch the podcast, you can actually find it on Apple, Google, and Spotify. The links to all those will be in the description, and I really hope you guys enjoy. I'm excited to get back into the podcast game. I'm hoping to be doing these once every 2 weeks, so bi-weekly. Please, please, please leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the quality and everything, things you'd like to see changed, future guest ideas. Let me know. Thank you very much. I hope you guys enjoy. MavriqGG, thank you very much for being the first guest on Fixer's Free Roam. You can call me Corey, though, if you want. I'm super happy to have you on.
Yeah, dude, I'm happy to be here. When you asked me, like, if I want to do a podcast, I was down immediately.
Good.
Because I like doing this.
I saw you
where it's like pre-recorded and like, you know, you're just talking about a topic. I enjoy it.
Yep. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I could talk to people about video games all day. I saw you were on like a nearly 3-hour Warzone discussion a couple days ago, right?
Yeah.
What was that one about?
Modern Warzone. I don't know if listeners, follow Call of Duty all that much. Modern Warzone is a news account on Twitter. Pretty much known for like being one of the first leakers for Warzone, one of the first like, hey, Warzone's an actual thing. And he capitalized on that before it was actually officially announced. So I just went on there to talk about anti-cheat because I guess I'm now a Sherpa for understanding the tech behind video games, but also because it is a huge topic and huge issue, not just in Warzone. I mean, everybody hears about it as being an issue in Warzone, but it's a huge issue across gaming. On like the aggregate, like cheating has just increased because there's so much money to be made from it, not just for the cheat developers, but for the people actually cheating. There's a lot of money to be made. So, it's kind of its own little industry now. And it's a pain in the ass for people that want to actually play, legitimately.
For better or for worse, it's here. And we're definitely going to talk about it. Let me kind of introduce you to the listeners. So I first ran into you on TikTok, where you were just starting your content creation career by busting myths about skill-based matchmaking in Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And since then, you've amassed over 50,000 followers on TikTok, which is no easy feat. And I think you've amassed that by kind of being the voice of reason in a community that is normally fueled by clickbait and hate. So
yeah.
Does that sound like a pretty good introduction? Feel free to...
Yeah, that's pretty accurate, I would say. Yeah, that's a fairly accurate who I am and like the content I produce. I would say that, 50K on TikTok, for people that don't know, is also still very small. There are people out here with like that, like I would say most people for gaming TikTok are around, like the larger creators are around at least over 100,000. Usually hanging in like the 500K to 2 million range is where you'll find a lot of like the big ones. So like Jordy, Lucci, like you may have even heard of these people. You usually see them on your For You page, and those are usually like the biggest guys. But yeah, so 50K, no small feat, but still a long way to go. And with the kind of content I make, it's a lot harder because I have to sit down and like make sure I know what I'm talking about, but also I don't have the benefit of making use of like a 15-second video. I think all my videos are like 90% of all my TikTok content is over 15 seconds. A good amount is, close to the 1 minute end. So like I have to try 10 times harder to, retain an audience on my content than someone who's just like, Activision did this today, and then that's the end of the video and just reading a headline.
I know which one you're talking about.
There's a couple of creators like that, and like, I mean, good on them for capitalizing on it, but like, holy shit, it makes discourse, like any actual discourse, impossible, because they just straight up read the headline and they don't explain any of the details, the details or nuance behind it.
Yeah, and that's definitely one reason I like your content a lot, and what sets you apart. You definitely are taking kind of the high road, I think, and it's going to be a bit more of a challenge, but you're doing a great job. And
thank you.
You do actually get some good discourse in your comments, which is great.
Yeah, every now and then, it gets a little like weirdly heated. Like I'll just do like a little tutorial on like enabling performance mode on your PS5, and then it starts a console war in the comments. Oddly enough, it's like every now and then there'll be weird discourse that I don't mean to start, or like there'll just be like a randomly highly voted comment where it's like, I cheat and I enjoy it, and I'm like, cool. I here's the attention you asked for. Like, I don't know. So TikTok is weird in that regard, where it's like, it's known as like the Zoomer app, I would say, but like oddly enough, when I look at my analytics, I have a pretty close to, I would say it's weird for gaming that like my gender split is 60-40, so 60% male, 40% female. But wow. Also like it tends to skew closer to, so there's no actual age statistics on TikTok for you to view as a creator, but you get to look at things such as like nation, so like countries that your audience is from, but also time of day that they're active. And my audience, I'm going to assume my audience is a little bit older, because a lot of the activity from my following tends to be around the time people get off of work and get home. So from like 5:30, 6 p.m. to like 10 p.m. is when my audience is most active. So just going based off of that, I'm going to assume that there are a lot of working people and like a lot of adults on it. So, I'm fine with capturing the adult audience on TikTok. Out of context, that's going to sound really weird, but you know what I mean.
No, I do know what you mean. And I've been trying to help do my part to kill that stigma that TikTok's only for Zoomers. Maybe back in 2017, 2018 it was, but the algorithm has gotten so advanced. It's probably the most, like, you could be a plumber and log into TikTok and find content tailored to 60-year-old plumbers. Like, if you have an interest and you want to see short videos about it, swipe through TikTok for an hour and you will probably be in that algorithm range that they want you to be in. It's really just whatever you want to make it. It's not just dance videos.
Yeah, like it's a little scary how accurate it can be, because with how much little data they harvest from your actual habits, it's more or less looking at a lot of other stuff on your socials that's like connected to your TikTok. So like if you have like Instagram connected on not through TikTok, but like actually no wait, yeah, you can. So like let's say I have like a YouTube, like I have my YouTube connected to my TikTok profile, or I have Instagram connected to my TikTok profile. A lot of the information that those other platforms will harvest will be shared with TikTok, and they're able to kind of narrow down what your interests are. So like recently with this huge move to Apex, pretty much that a bunch of Warzone content creators have had, I'm not seeing Warzone content creators on my For You page. I see a couple of them still, but I'm getting a bunch of Apex content, even though I've shown no interest in Apex. But like it's pretty good at like predicting where your personal trend line may go. So like I'm starting to watch a little bit more Apex. I pay attention to one of my friends who's like top 25 Predator. He's like in this like huge tournament today. So like, I'm watching a little bit more, but it's like, how does it know? Because I don't follow any Apex creators, but like now it's showing me Apex creators pretty much exclusively on my For You page. So it's like, wow, this is pretty good at like distributing content to like the right eyes. It's really weird.
Yeah, it's kind of scary good. I've had a similar experience to what you're saying. It's for better or for worse, I guess. It's kind of good if you want instant entertainment, but it is kind of scary. But data collection is probably a topic for a whole other podcast.
Yeah. There's some weird ways you can monetize data that I've recently found out, sadly. And we can talk about that offline, but like, oh man. There are some companies out there that that do stuff with public information that they should not be doing in order to make money. I'm gonna leave it at that. But yeah,
That could be a whole podcast topic. We'll come back to that maybe down the road because I like talking about that stuff too. But besides TikTok, who are you? Who is MavriqGG? And how did you get to where you are today? Like, what made you want to start making those TikToks? And I understand you're involved with a gaming organization now too.
Yep.
So can you kind of walk through your kind of from a career perspective? Can you give me a walkthrough?
Gotcha. Yeah. So essentially, I started out around the time I used to make content back in the day, but that was mainly like just straight up, streaming ESEA, A rank games on Twitch. Very, very small. It was like maybe I think I peaked at like 20 viewers or whatever.
That's Counter-Strike, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So
I was, I put my whole like life into Counter-Strike for the most part. Everything was Counter-Strike in high school for me and middle school. So I was just playing a shit ton, playing for money, playing at LANs, stuff like that. And then college rolled around, Modern Warfare 2019 released, and I had pretty much taken like a huge break from Call of Duty. I grew up on Call of Duty and Battlefield. And then, started playing Counter-Strike competitively. And because it was crossplay, you could actually find games in other modes and maps. And I switched back to controller because I'd hurt my hand. That slowly healed, but like I couldn't really play Counter-Strike anymore. I kind of had to move over to using a controller, more specifically a Steam controller, because as you can see, there's only one joystick, right? There's only one joystick, but this right here is like a trackpad, and there's gyro. So I didn't really have to use my thumbs, or at least my hurt thumb or my hurt hand as much.
So you played
shit. This I have a little holder for my controller, and it I put my controller down and it just detached from my desk. Sorry, what were you saying?
Okay, well, I was going to ask you about the Steam controller, but now that it's in pieces, maybe we should just move to a different topic.
Surprisingly, it's in pretty good condition. Hopefully, I mean,
so
it's a good condition.
That's really interesting. I've only heard negative things about the Steam controller, and the fact that you played a Twitch shooter like MW19 with it is astonishing. I had no idea.
It's a lot of practice, but once you get used to it, you can pull off some pretty nutty things. It's almost like having, the way I explain it is, it feels like it's using a like a mouse, but you get that same level of smoothness from like a joystick. But also, if I could continue using mouse and keyboard and playing on mouse specifically, I would stick with it. But like now, like after that injury where I hurt my hand, it's just like I can't really do more than 2 hours of gameplay on a mouse without my hand like completely cramping up. So that's the reason why I kind of stick with this. So if this breaks, I'm pretty much fucked. Or I have to switch over to a PS5 controller has gyro, and it works on PC, but like I'd have to switch to that. But yeah, so I started getting really back into COD, going back to my roots again. Battlefield 5 came out. I was hyped for that. Was a flop for a bunch of reasons. So I continued playing COD, and then Warzone released, and I started getting really into that. And it was like for the first time a battle royale I actually enjoyed, because I like to get into gunfights a lot, right? So I like to play aggressive. And in PUBG, you could kind of do that, but once that SBMM starts kicking in, you start dealing with cheaters, PUBG starts to get annoying. Fortnite, I never wanted to learn the building. Fortnite's like you shoot one guy and the guy spawns like the fucking Burj Khalifa. So like I'd rather just not deal with it. So I started finding my niche in Warzone. COVID really started picking up, especially in the States, and my last semester of college got like pretty much thrown out the window. So now I had a bunch more time. It was like my last semester, so I was pretty much finishing up. Now it's like I'm graduating. I have work. It's pretty, it's working from home, so I have time to actually like make content. So I started streaming a lot more, and I still wasn't like sure what I wanted to make. And then one day I noticed on my For You page, and I rarely use TikTok, but then I noticed on the For You page, someone was like, I saw like a 15-second video, and it was Call of Duty may be nerfing you in game, according to this patent. And I was like, wait, hold on. I've interned at a bunch of Fortune 500 companies. I know the ins and outs of corporate life. And I've actually worked at Activision before, doing data analytics as an intern, specifically in the monetization sector, like figuring out how to make the most amount of money possible. I know what I'm talking about. This patent is bullshit. just because a company has a patent doesn't mean just because a company has a patent doesn't mean they're actually going to use it. A prime example is Touch ID underneath your phone screen for iPhones. That it's a feature that's never come to iPhones, but there's like 4 patents for it, right? So like this is bullshit. So essentially that's what I did. I was like, okay, this patent is bullshit. And this was like the first time I'd actually like made a TikTok video for like the intention of making TikTok. Before that, I just like I didn't really know how to use the app properly, so I was just like uploading shit in horizontal. So I made that video and it popped off. I'm like, whoa, okay. And the comments were like, oh, tell us about blah blah blah. Tell us how it actually works. So then I went into depth and I was like, so at every company I've ever worked with, and this is also true for the gaming industry, any tech industry, it's all about engagement, right? Like even especially if it's a free game. So it's all about engagement. And I explained the idea behind engagement algorithms in games and how these days games it's more about how long they can keep you on the game. And a lot of times it's through, like matching you against certain people to make it a little bit more challenging or make it a little bit less challenging and kind of screwing with those risk reward factors in your brain. And it keeps you on the game a lot longer. And, there is a correlation between how long you play a game, sunk cost, and, how much you're willing to actually pour into the game monetarily. And because of that, you can increase the amount of revenue you bring in as a game publisher. And it's not just Activision that does this. EA's done this. Epic does this with their matchmaking systems. True Skill 2 matchmaking, I think it's called, which will be in Halo. I don't think it's actually fully implemented in MCC, but it is like in Halo 5 if you play on console. But like that'll be in Infinite. Like Microsoft does that shit too, essentially trying to optimize your engagement. Every social media app you use tries to maximize engagement because they see that the longer you're on the app, you can, they can sell you more ads. They can sell more ads directly to you, thereby making more money because they're like, yo, we have this many monthly active users on our platform staying for about this long. So I explained all that and then started gaining traction. And then I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, what else could I talk about? And luckily for me, there is, I hate to say this because it's awful for the players, but luckily for me, Activision, and especially at the time Infinity Ward, and Raven for a good amount of time weren't very good at being transparent with the community. So in that way, I would see a lot of not only misinformation but things that just weren't clearly understood. So essentially my whole thing was to debunk and kind of educate the community on a bunch of different topics ranging from engagement to just like simply understanding like how anti-cheat works and myths, because people are like, there's no anti-cheat in the game, and I'm like, no, there is. They hardware ID ban, they do all this shit that you think are solutions. It's just there's a lot of money and a lot of manpower on the other side fighting it. And then I would say around at this point I was at 20K. I had a little bit of a health scare early in this year, around January, so I was stuck at 25K for a little bit because I wasn't able to post content. I was dealing with chronic migraines, stuff like that. So I would say when I started looking back into getting, more followers on TikTok, increasing my reach. Because at that point I started like getting these stupid little, I don't even know how they found it, but like they found my email, my MavriqGG email. And they'd be like, oh, we want you to make this video for this microphone. Or we want you to Checkmate Gaming, CMG was like, oh, we want you to make a video like this. How much would you, ask for? And I'm like, when it comes to sponsors, I don't want to, pimp out any sponsor that I actually, don't like or don't believe in. So I was like, wait, like this, I could turn this into something. So I saw the Toronto Ultra TikTok, which is a CDL team. And they had a creator that was around my size, pretty much running that whole account at the time. And I was like, wait, if this guy can do it, why can't I? So what I did was I essentially, I found all the CDL teams, like a list of them, and I looked at their parent companies, right? So I was like, okay, the ones we're not going to try and cold email or cold talk to, or cold DM, whatever. I'm not going to hit up FaZe. I'm not going to hit up Empire. I'm not going to hit up Optic because these are like grandfather franchises. They either already have TikTok content creators, or they're too big and they don't really want to look for someone that's pretty small. I reached out to a bunch of teams. I can actually send you the screenshots here. So I just sent you those screenshots, Corey.
Awesome.
Like I sent them, like I shot my shot, right? Via DMs. And the other teams that, they didn't have open DMs, I went and found their parent companies. NYSL is owned by Andbox. So I found their parent company contact information. They had a contact us form on their site. I did my little elevator pitch saying, this is who I am. This is the value I can bring. This is the niche I work in.
Perfect.
And you know, this is essentially what I can bring to help elevate your brand. At the time, I wasn't really looking to, you know, join an org. I was more so just like looking to work with the, you know, CDL team to maybe expand my reach past the nerdy parts of gamers that only care about, you know, because honestly, what I'm working in is like, you know, myth busting and like the engineering behind games. That's still very niche.
Yeah.
So if I want to do this in any sort of capacity, I need to essentially grow outside my niche a little bit. So oddly enough, the only team to get back to me was NYSL via email. And I was shocked when I saw the email asking to set up like a little one-on-one meeting with the creative director behind like their socials on a lot of their product launches for clothing. So it was kind of like a, you know, what are your thoughts on TikTok? What are your thoughts on, you know, different kinds of content? What do you think we're not doing well? What do you think we could do well? What do you think we do well? And I essentially kind of sat down and I was like, okay, you know, this is where I see a lot of, you know, I don't see any Warzone content from you guys. And that's really big, not only on TikTok, but like in general. You guys are strictly only doing CDL, you know, Black Ops Cold War stuff. So I got it. They gave me a chance. I did like 2 or 3 videos for them for like $75 each. And luckily enough, that first video I put out garnered like, I think it was like 950K views in like a week.
Wow.
On TikTok. And that one did really, really well. It was a stupid loadout vid.
And that was posted on their TikTok?
Yeah, that was
channel?
posted on their TikTok.
Okay.
Yeah. So it ended up being to the point where it was like Tim the Tatman did like a reacting to TikTok loadouts thing, and that was one of the videos that he did.
That's awesome.
And that's actually how I kind of got outed as a content creator to all my IRL friends, because they didn't know at the time. They're like, wait, why is he what? And I just started getting a shit ton of text messages. But yeah, so that did really, really well. And then I posted the other 2 also did really well. Not as well as that first one, but they did really, really well. So like, okay, we're on to something here. At the time, they were sitting at around, I would say 25, 30K TikTok followers. And, you know, the guy that was working on the TikTok account the whole time, Maloney Media on Twitter, he essentially, like, we became like the duo for that TikTok. And it was, and also, not Hunter, Dante, NYSL Dante, also look him up on Twitter. He would also, you know, he was doing more of the meme content. Maloney was doing more of the Cold War content that was also still memey. And then I was like the Warzone content creator for their TikTok. And I would do a lot of like breakdowns, loadout videos, obviously, because that's free real estate. And then a lot of like explaining certain, you know, like breaking down patch notes or busting myths. But this time it would be like, this gun has no recoil. And then it'd be like busting that myth. So, you know, I brought like part of my little skill set over and did some different kinds of content outside of my normal content. And that was doing well. I surprised myself as well. I was like, oh shit, wait, what? I'm actually not bad at this. So they eventually were like around, I would say, so this was April, March. I would say around mid-March, they're like, okay, we want you to like sign a non-compete. We want you to like join us. So then I got like a pay bump per video. And I think like, what month are we in? We're in August, right? So I think as of last month, as of July, we had hit 100,000 follows. So from the time of May to July, pretty much, we had gone from 30K to over 100K. And I think right now we're sitting at 115K. So yeah, go check us out on TikTok at Subliners. You'll see a lot of my content there. But yeah, so, you know, it's nice. I've grown with them. Now I'm sitting at 50K because I'm going back to posting my own content. I'm juggling content between the 2 accounts. And it's been a wild ride. But yeah, that's who I am and how I got here.
That's amazing. That was an amazing answer. That's exactly what I was hoping to turn this podcast into. Like, I want to talk about games and anti-cheat and hackers, but I also want to talk about how people can get involved in gaming, make money in gaming, get a job doing what they like. And that was a perfect first episode kind of rundown of that side of it.
I'm glad.
Yeah, that was awesome. So you said you're still in college, I think, right? But
No,
is this
I graduated last semester. Not
okay?
last semester. I graduated last year.
Right.
Just
So
as the pandemic kind of kicked off.
so is this like a full-time job then for you now? I mean, making content for two
I
different accounts
wish.
seems like a lot of time, but
I wish. I practically my sleep schedule is I've gotten better at it, but like my workday ends at midnight and begins at 7:30, 8 a.m. Today I took the day off today from like actual work that pays the bills. Um so hopefully if you don't know, if you guys aren't aware, a lot of esports teams make their money from events that they put on, live
mhm.
events and merch, right? So when live events kind of went, in the shitter because of COVID, um, lands kind of shut down, watch parties stopped happening, sponsors started pulling some support because sponsors also have to pay their own bills. And if the entire economy tanks, you can't really have sponsors. So I'm getting paid nicely. I'm being compensated really well, actually. But it's not full time, like not even close. It's really well for someone who's only been doing content for like I would say not even a year at this point. I would say I started taking content seriously in November of last year. And then the first couple months of this year were a wash. So that would be
Mhm.
like I've only really been creating content for about half a year. And the thing is that like I from like 8 a.m. to around 4 p.m. is like if I was going into the office to do work, is like how that would work for me, right? So it's like I can't work on anything. But the beauty of being able to work from home is that like if I'm kind of done with work, I can just kind of get off early
Mhm.
and work on content. Or if I have no meetings and the work is easy, I can work on content. So um I try to be I try to be highly interactive, not so much on Discord, sadly, but on Twitter is where I'm like super interactive with
Mhm.
people in the community. Or I'm trying to make content. And, what I do is essentially every Monday at the Subliners, we have a meeting. And I essentially say, these are the videos I'm working on for the week. If something pops up like a patch, which I'm not looking forward to tonight because these season patch notes, I stay up. I just pull an all-nighter and essentially do a rundown patch notes for dummies, and get that stuff out there. Because sadly with TikTok, you have to capitalize on something ASAP.
Yeah,
When it comes to like current events.
it sounds like burnout could be an issue. Have you had to deal with that?
Luckily with my therapist, I've found ways to avoid burnout. So,
That's
I
good.
don't stream as much anymore. I used to
Mhm.
stream a lot, but I realize that the name of the game for me right now is growth, and the easiest place to do that is for me on TikTok right now.
Mhm.
So it's mainly a lot of like there'll be times I was like, oh, you're not streaming today. I'm like, sorry guys, like like wasting 5 hours on a stream does feel like a little bit of a waste because my content isn't getting gameplay clips, right? Like my
Right.
content isn't like it's not clip based, it's not gameplay based. So like having a 5 hour stream is great for kind of thinking about content, but for the most part, all my content creation is done off stream. So
Yeah.
that's something I'm kind of working on is trying to figure out ways to pull content from stream. Um,
Yes, that is a very
and it's
tough.
difficult.
Yes, that is from what I understand and in my personal experience, that's a very tough thing to accomplish to be entertaining on camera live and still create scripted, really highly edited stuff on the side, and to be able to do it all at once is really hard, and we're
Yeah.
kind of seeing the creators that are able to do that and the ones that struggle with it for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And
So it's like
both are viable options. They're all
exactly.
viable options, but it's just what fits your personality type, really.
Yeah. And that was something that someone brought up recently to me. I was like, guys, I'm not like I know I'm not a good streamer. Like I'm a work in progress streamer. I'm not a good streamer. I'm a good content creator. I'm not a good streamer. And even as a content creator, like it feels weird saying I'm a good content creator. I'm a slightly above average content creator in my view. There's so much stuff I could do better. And I
Mhm.
know there's so much more I could do, but like I also have a full-time job. And I have to think like in what ways is content creation sustainable for me? Because if I tried to do everything I wanted to do, yeah, I would burn out super fast, right? So it's kind of like I know I can do more, but I have to pull myself back. just to avoid burnout. Because, at the end of the day, what pays my rent isn't content creation. Like content creation it pays for equipment upgrades. Content creation pays for maybe going to, if you save up, maybe going to like CDL Champs, which is next week. But for the most part, content creation pays for like date night food at most. So it's not like I have to like still, yeah.
Even at 50K TikTok followers, guys, for everyone listening, it's going to be a long slog for those people trying to grow themselves and turn it into full time. You got to diversify, but
yeah. And I want to say part of it is luck, but like I take that. I used to think a lot of it was luck, but like there are some people who really there'll be people where it's like, holy shit, he went from 10K follows to over 300K in like a week because one vid got like 7 million views, and you're like, this isn't even that good. But then it's like, hey, he capitalized on it, and he's moving up, and he's having more people come into his streams. And a lot of times you'll be like, dude, that guy's so lucky. But it's like, luck is where preparation meets opportunity, and he just happened to put up a video that was above average during a dry period, and it did well. And kudos to them. But like, yeah, there'll be people. It's not easy, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, so, I used to be one of those people where I'm like, it's all luck. It's not.
Okay, so then what would you say to a young 18-year-old Mav starting college, trying to figure out what he wants to do? He likes video games, knows his way around a camera a little bit. What would you give to what kind of advice would you give to someone like that?
Learn my way around a camera and learn editing software much earlier, but also don't put your eggs in the computer science basket. Don't put all your eggs in the computer science basket, because it will I don't know, maybe get a business degree that's tech adjacent instead, because I like, yes, having my computer science background is helpful, especially for content, but at the same time, it kind of what I would say is do the content creation stuff earlier. That's my number one thing. I should have started earlier. The best time to start was then. The next best time to start is tomorrow. I think it's like, wait, what's the saying? There's a saying where it's like the best time to start something is today. The next best time to start that thing you want to start is tomorrow, right? Like that's the saying. Essentially, that's what I would say to 18-year-old me is, hey, start this shit today. Don't wait for 3 years from now when you're graduated, because you probably would have been a lot further. But the amount I would tell people, if you're not seeing success making content, change it up. Like if you've been making content for 3 years and you're still stuck at like 5 viewers, it's not luck. It's not that your content isn't good. It's that what you're doing is either already been done, or it's not different enough, or it's sadly it's nothing new. So like you need to switch it up. You need to find something else you can do. I've seen people do characters on Twitch, and for some people that works. Like Ben Jammins on TikTok has grown a pretty large Twitch audience because he plays a character, and that's easy for him because it's easier for him to kind of create content as a character. And that won't work for everybody. I've seen people do like knockoff Dr. Disrespect stuff, and it's like, no, it's not working. I'm sorry. I've seen people, complain that they've only getting like 300 views on TikTok, and it's like, maybe it's your editing style. Maybe it's the topics you're picking. You're late to the party. Maybe it could be literally any amount of factors, but just, continuing to do the same grind for like 3 years and you're not seeing success, you got to figure out something to switch up. So those are the things I would impart on myself.
Great. That's great advice. Yeah. It's like with TikTok, the kind of, if you think back, I know you're familiar with this. Some younger people in the audience might not even have been around when this was a fad, but the Let's Plays of YouTube, there's channels on YouTube today that have 5 million subscribers, and now they get 10,000 views a week, maybe at best, because they still are only doing Let's Plays, which is not popular anymore. And you may be the best Let's Player on the planet, but not that many people are interested in watching it anymore. So you have to be able to objectively look at what you're doing and look at the audience you want to have and figure out, you have to find the point where your interests and passion meet with that,
Exactly.
with the
Yeah.
audience.
Well, actually, the funny thing is that you bring up Let's Plays is when I look at Let's Plays on YouTube, what I see, the ones that get the most views and the most traction, and the ones that are usually at the top of like search results, are ones that are either no commentary, so it's someone that like is interested in the game, but probably either doesn't have the money to buy it right now, or doesn't have the time to play through like a long campaign. So it's usually like no commentary playthroughs, right? Those will do well. But like from specific channels that only do like, they're known for no commentary, or people that are playing the game on stream, and kind of recording for YouTube, and it's a lot of their personality that's in the game while they're doing their Let's Play. So it's not like, it's almost like you're watching like a 30-minute reaction video to like a level in like The Last of Us almost. And it's not always usually edited down. I don't watch very many Let's Plays. But like, it's very much, they know their niche for their Let's Play. You can't just like, I'm gonna stream Ghost of Tsushima on Twitch, and just upload the VOD to YouTube and title Let's Play Episode 1. Like, there's people that do a shit ton of editing for their Let's Plays, and there's people that do no editing for the Let's Plays. It depends on the niche. So yeah.
So that's really good advice for people who are interested in becoming a content creator, or at least finding a new hobby in video creation. Now, you told us that you used to intern at Activision and other big tech companies. In the news this past week has been a lot of news about a lawsuit against Activision for, to put it bluntly, terrible work environments.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you still have an NDA that you're under, but can you speak at all to any of that sort of thing?
Well, yeah. So the NDA mainly covers like the actual tech that I was working with. So in regards to that, like, I can talk about anything that's not like, hey, this is how this algorithm works, or hey, like, these are the services we use for, this is the way we use like certain cloud services, like that kind of stuff I can't talk about.
So what can you tell us about working at Activision?
Exactly. So the sad thing is, I think people need to understand this isn't just like an Activision issue. Like, this is a game industry issue, and it's also a larger like Silicon Valley tech issue overall.
Yes.
The amount of times I've seen obviously not to the same level of harassment, but like I've seen things that could be perceived as harassment, things that can be seen as like, hey, maybe you shouldn't say that to your coworker. It's really high, and it happens a lot in tech, mainly because there is like this weird culture, I would say like a programmer culture in tech, where it's, I remember one time I was talking to a recruiter from Amazon, and this was working at Amazon corporate, in the tech division, and he said something about how it's really, really great working there, work hard, play hard. He was like, like you earn your keep, and like it was like very much like it was like, we're not on Wall Street, my dude. Like, this isn't Wolf of Wall Street. This isn't like you're not trying to. It was very much like that kind of like Wolf of Wall Street sort of vibe, and there is a lot of like this Wolf of Wall Street vibe perpetuated in tech, especially when it's like tech meets business. That side, there's like this Wolf of Wall Street-esque sort of mentality, because there's a lot of money being thrown around. There's alcohol at work all the time.
Really?
Yeah, from companies like Activision, to companies like Nike, to companies like it's a corporate thing. Because it's seen as like having a chill workplace is seen as a positive, something that gets especially younger students moving into the workforce, but also I would say like that age range of 23 to 35 loves the idea of a chill workplace or chill work environment, and things like alcohol, things like having, the ability for Activision, prime example, but like having the ability to like play titles during like your lunch break, stuff like that. Like, it's all seen as like fun and games. like if you look at the reasons to work here for any tech company, it's always like some stupid shit where it's like on-site gym, and it's the idea is, and you're gonna laugh, but the idea is to keep employees engaged at work, right? So if you have a gym at work, right?
That
If
makes
you
me
have
sick.
parties at work, yeah, but like that kind of stuff increases productivity. Because you're oh shit, like I'm gonna go to the gym at work, and wake up at 6 a.m., get to the gym at work at 7 a.m., and then I'm at my desk by 8 a.m. Like this works out perfectly.
You never have to leave.
Yeah. I'm just gonna have lunch at work because there's a cafeteria at work. Or like, oh, I'm gonna get off of work a little bit early and go play at the land center at work. So like the idea is to keep employees engaged in that way, and like that kind of stuff leads to a lot of behavior because it almost becomes like you see a lot of people's real selves at work, especially during parties, where people get a little bit loose. I remember I was at Nike, and like every week during the summer, every week there was a party at like 6 or at 5 p.m. So like, yeah, you would leave, everyone would get off like an hour early and go to like on the corporate campus, go to like the main, like I guess the middle area of the campus where there's like this huge soccer pitch and stuff like that. And they'd have like tents set up, and it would be like everybody gets like 3 free drinks. Or sometimes it'd be like unlimited drinks. And, at a lot of companies during those parties, you may not always notice what's happening because it's such a large amount of employees. But like, there is always, in these circumstances where you hear someone, doing fucked up things, there's always alcohol involved. Even though it may not like say explicitly that there's alcohol involved, there was alcohol involved because there's a lot of drinking that goes on, especially in corporate life. There's a lot of drinking that goes on during times where you're not really supposed to be drinking, even when there is no party. It's like certain teams. I remember when I was at Activision, there was, I think, like 1 or 2 tech teams in the little pod I worked in. It's like the little small offshoot building I was at, where they had like a mini fridge that had like all sorts of liquor. I think there were beers inside, but it had all sorts of liquor on top. And it was just like, yeah, every now and then, like, while you're waiting for something, while you're waiting for like a report to run, or waiting for something to compile, like you just grab a beer. And it's very like chill. So like in that regards, that's a large reason why a lot of this fucked up shit happens. And it all comes down to like company culture, which at the end of the day starts at the top and the people in charge. And something I noticed, and pretty much every company I've ever worked at, it's very few women in charge. But also, when it comes to the men, it's a lot of like old guard, or it's a lot of like, if there is anybody that is young, it's someone who's young that shares the same viewpoints and culture as the old guard, right? So it's very much, a boys club, I would say. It's very much like frat culture is pervasive, and programmer culture is pervasive at pretty much every tech company in the Valley. There are very few tech companies that don't give into that. And even some of those companies where it's like, I think Bumble, for one, is like one of those few companies where it's like all women leadership, right? But even they have had issues with their HR and compliance and the way they treat, some employees, where it's like, wait, this is a company full of women. But like, there are times where there's like, women saying that like a certain supervisor did this, or they were passed over for a promotion. And it's like, well, this is just a huge HR failing on behalf of that company. And people need to remember, HR is not there to, like, it's not there for the actual employee. It's there to protect the company. So like, it's a mess everywhere, I would say.
Well, that's a bleak picture, Mav.
Sorry about that, but it's sadly the truth. There are very few companies that actually care about their employees.
Anyone can form a clique and leave other people in the dust. It doesn't matter the gender.
Yeah.
So
like
it could happen.
It happens. Yeah. It happens at pretty much. And you have to remember, like, a lot of these, Activision, for example, after the lawsuit was made public, one of their board members, Franz Townsend, a former Bush official, who's on the board of Activision, she had the most tone deaf response possible, right?
Oh
And it's
my
like,
gosh.
yeah, and it's
Dude,
like this isn't
she's
just
the
an
one that
issue
got rid
of
of her Twitter recently, right?
yeah. She blocked me because she tweeted out like a article about why whistleblowers are bad.
Yes, I
And I
read that
tweeted
article after you retweeted it. I
and I
was
tweeted at her. I tweeted at her the photo. It's like it was like it's like from The Simpsons. It's like why you shouldn't have tweeted this. And like it was like one of the higher liked posts on her tweet. And then like 5 minutes later, I was going to show my sister, and I'm like, wait, why can't I view the original tweet? Oh, she blocked me, and she didn't just block me. She blocked employees that work at Activision that responded to that tweet. So like this isn't
that's
just
the
like
worst
a
part.
yeah, this isn't just like a oh, you put more women in leadership positions, or you put like you have a quota for amount of people in leadership positions and it fixes a lot of these issues. It's like no, this is an issue that I've seen. It's women being misogynistic. It's people that you would normally think that are on your side not on your side, just for the sole reasoning of that, like, they want to essentially climb the corporate ladder, or a lot of times it's just like it's a different culture altogether that they simply just don't understand. Like, hey, maybe I shouldn't say some fucked up shit to my female employee, or hey, maybe I shouldn't say some fucked up shit to this person of color, who has just kind of gone up the corporate ladder, just kind of dealing with it for like the past 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a bleak outlook. This isn't just Activision. I wish I could say it's just Activision, but like we've seen Riot, we've seen Ubisoft, we've seen Facebook have these issues. Like it's everywhere.
Yeah, I definitely think it's good that like all this stuff came out about Activision and so many people made a huge deal about it, but it definitely does seem like a lot of people don't realize that it's not just Activision. So I'm really glad you brought that up. Okay, well, I really appreciate your like perspective on that. It's good to hear, especially from someone young and who's worked there. Let's move to some slightly more lighthearted questions. You have helped countless gamers win Warzone victories with your weapon setup guides and anti-cheat guides. But as we all know, there's no such thing as a field agent grip for your pickup lines. Can you give us some quick tips for scoring points with the ladies? Gamer girls.
Oh man.
This one wasn't on the Discord.
Yeah, it wasn't. I'm looking, I'm like, what the fuck? Quick tips. I don't really have. Just don't be weird, dude. Just like honestly, just don't make your personality. Don't build your personality around gaming, right? Because like, if for example, a gamer girl, yeah, no shit, she's like talking to you because you both have like a common interest, but don't keep it only to the common interest. Talk about other stuff. People are multidimensional.
Yeah.
So I don't really have any pickup lines, but just be a fucking normal person. Don't make gaming your only part of your personality, right? Like, I'm huge into basketball and sports, and guess what? This girl I'm saying isn't, but that's fine.
You have more than one thing to talk about.
Yeah, I actually found out. I never brought up that I work for a CDL team. I never brought up that I make content, actually. You want to know how that actually ended up coming up? Is because she's like, oh yeah, wait, yeah, I think I said something about how I'm going on a podcast on accident. And she's like, what's it about? And then I'm like, oh shit, it's Call of Duty. She's like, oh, you play video games, blah, blah, blah. I love The Last of Us, stuff like that. I'm like, oh, common interest just came up normally. So yeah, just kind of just take a shower, get a bed frame, get a couch, get a TV console. Don't fall for the I'm a guy and this is how I live stereotype. Just be normal and shower and put on deodorant, because I swear to God, the amount of lands I have been to where everything just smells because motherfuckers don't put on deodorant is too damn high. All right. So that's really all I have. I mean, it's nothing special. Just, I want to say be yourself, but for a lot of people, I would say don't be yourself. Just
don't be a bad Activision employee too.
There you go. That's also pretty big. Just be like a normal, caring human being. Don't be an asshole. It's easy.
There you go.
Don't fall for weird gurus on YouTube that teach you how to do pickup artist shit. That shit does not work. So yeah.
Great. So on to some more general gaming topics as we enter the last few minutes. What are your thoughts maybe in 2 to 3 minutes on just Call of Duty and gaming and the future of FPS in general right now. We kind of were talking about it on Twitter yesterday.
Yeah.
I was saying I don't think Splitgate has pushed things far enough as far as weird new mechanics go. What's in your brain right now?
So in regards to Splitgate, I'm glad you brought it up. Splitgate released 2 years ago, and the biggest reason why it's blowing up right now is not because of some radical changes they made. It's the implementation of crossplay, and the fact that it's free on those crossplay systems is huge. The thing is that they haven't really changed the game much from 2 years ago. I used to play a good amount of Splitgate back when it was Wormhole Wars, back when it was Splitgate Arena Warfare, when it was only on PC, and I have to say, after playing Halo Infinite, I do not have fun playing Splitgate. It's not as satisfying to get kills in Splitgate. The time to kill is actually fairly low for an arena shooter. The portals are a good way to have skill gap added in, but I don't know for the casual player if that's enough outside of ranked. Like casual players don't really care for ranked, so yeah, ranked is there for them to chase, but like there's not much else for a casual player to stick around for in Splitgate. It gets repetitive pretty quickly. And I think that's one reason why base multiplayer games are getting very stale and very, aren't the hot thing to do or play or make content for, right? Like Battle Royale tells almost a story, right? There's exposition when you land, there's rising action when you loot up, there is climax when you're, fighting into a circle, there's falling action when you're, when it gets quiet near the last couple circles of the game, and then there is, the finale. When hopefully you win. Like it tells a story, and people, the human race loves stories, and that's one reason why people enjoy watching Battle Royale, even though they may not, be actively thinking about the whole story thing I laid out. But that's one reason why people love watching Battle Royale. I honestly think base multiplayer is kind of dead. I'm cautiously optimistic for Battlefield 2042, mainly because I'm in the technical test. I haven't gotten to play it. People listening, it's started today. But like I played X Defiant. It feels like a 2013 COD game ported to mobile.
I installed it and I got invited to that X Defiant too. I installed it. I booted it up, got kicked out from a server error, and I was like, yeah, it's not worth that much effort. I'll visit it later.
Yeah, so like it's not that I think everybody has their hopes up for certain games because that's just the nature of gamers in general. It's like we get our hopes up for games, even though for like Battlefield 2042, for example, outside of the tech test, we haven't seen any unscripted gameplay like we used to back in the day with the Siege of Shanghai multiplayer demo or the unscripted gameplay from the campaign that we got for Battlefield 3. Like we haven't seen any actual gameplay. We've just seen trailers with like camera pans. So I mean, I'll let Fixer know in private how the technical test is, but like I heard that the technical test is from the 29th of July. So not too long ago, and performance is pretty bad, and I know they added easy anti-cheat, but like if you know anything about easy anti-cheat, the reason why you don't see as many cheaters in Fortnite, there's a lot of cheaters in Fortnite. People don't understand this. There's a lot of cheaters in Fortnite. The reason why you just don't have to deal with them as much is because most cheaters do not know how to build properly. Right. So that's one of the good things about high skill gap games. Splitgate, there's a bunch of cheaters already. There's hacks that are still undetected for Splitgate, but guess what? The portals, you can't hack portals. Same thing with Fortnite. You can't really hack good building skill, right? The only thing the hacks are doing is giving you, wall ESP to see people behind cover and aimbot to fix your aim. Outside of that, you got to learn to build on your own, dude. So like that's one reason why people don't deal with cheaters as much. But like in games like COD and Battlefield on PC, for the most part, the saving grace was rent-a-server programs, community servers, right? So admin would be there, kick the cheater. But rent-a-server isn't coming back for 2042. Nobody's really talking about that.
Is that true? I didn't know that.
It's not coming back. The only custom servers that will be in the game are through Portal, but that's almost like starting your own lobby, and once you log off, the lobby shuts down. So
that's a shame.
It's not like you can leave up a server for your community and be like, no hackers here, and have multiple admins for your Portal server, that'll kick them. It's when you're there and you made the server and you get off, the server disappears. So you can't really build a community either. And that's
frustrating because we could go back to the previous conversation of I mean, it all goes back to skill or engagement. It all goes back to engagement. They can't track engagement on private servers where people are running mods and only playing one map with
And team
unlimited
balancing is
lives.
completely different. Yeah.
And
Like
it's a shame.
It's on purpose. Yeah. Like it's not because like they don't have the resources. It's because, you know, yeah, they could make a lot of money from renting out servers to people like they did with Battlefield 4, Hardline, Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5, which that stuff didn't even come till like a year after launch. But there's more money to be made from keeping people playing the game and buying cosmetics. Like Battlefield 5, for instance, like everyone's like, oh, Battlefield's going to have anti-cheat. You guys realize that Battlefield 5 didn't even start permanently banning cheaters? Like they would just come back. They would get banned for like a week and they would come back. It didn't start permanently banning cheaters till a year after launch. By then, the game was already hacked to shit. And it's, yeah, they're using easy anti-cheat. But again, easy anti-cheat, Vanguard, like those, Vanguard probably does it the best. But there's been people in high-ranked, you know, Valorant games that get banned for cheating. So it's, I'm really afraid for the future of FPSs, especially because they're so easy to cheat in. And I think like Halo and Battlefield are gonna be good games, but I think they're gonna have the same issues that Warzone has right now with cheaters. Because the more popular the game, right? Like I bet you, I bet you Halo and Battlefield are gonna have the same percentage of cheaters. Average player base is gonna be smaller, so you won't run into them as often. But like they're gonna still deal with cheating out the ass. Microtransactions will never disappear. And they're honestly just finding more ways. Like, for example, if a company does something good, if a publisher does something quote unquote good, it's only because they figured out another way to monetize said good thing, right? So when Activision dropped loot boxes and they started doing battle passes, it's because they realized they can make a lot more money from the battle pass than they can from those loot boxes. The reason why you get your COD points back with every battle pass is because that they know that you'll keep playing, because that fear of missing out on like potential, you know, being able to get the next battle pass for free. And they know that if they give you back your currency, you're more likely to play, so you can get the next one for free. It's all of these things are very manipulative. And I told someone this recently. It was like back in the day, 10 years ago, Vince Zampella, Jason West, when they're making Modern Warfare 2, weren't thinking about monthly active users. They weren't thinking about, you know, engagement. But now these games are pretty much built around hitting KPIs for engagement and for monthly active users. So it's really like, yes, gaming has become more accessible and you know, it technically is cheaper if you do things like Game Pass. You know, you don't have to buy these microtransactions, but in a way, gaming has become less about fun. It's become a little bit more manipulative. There are the amount of money that you can make as a content creator or an esports player has kind of like forced people to stop gaming for fun. So like the monetary incentive in gaming has kind of ruined it for not just the developers, to now they have to work harder to make a game that they're not super passionate about, but also for the players overall. So like my future for gaming outlook is kind of bleak, but I know my dumbass will be addicted anyway and play some of these games I talk shit about. So
support your indie devs. That's
yeah, pretty much.
Support indie devs.
I honestly would say that there's, you know, there's also, I saw recently how there's like a AAA indie studio. And you're like, wait, AAA indie studio? It's like, yeah, there's a bunch of VC money now in gaming. That might be good. That might be bad. We haven't really seen what that'll mean. But like a AAA indie, the idea of that's actually kind of promising.
Splitgate had to have gotten some of that. There's no way Splitgate stuck around for 2 years on its own.
Yeah, no. It I mean, especially after their latest round of funding, though, that latest $10 million they got, that was from a VC out of Canada, I think. So like it's yeah, they know what they're VCs now understand the amount of money that can be made, especially through just data collection on its own, but also like obviously the selling of microtransactions and shit. So like, yeah, you're gonna see a lot more indie devs put out less indie like products, I would say.
Oh,
right? So
no, don't say that.
The days of like even Hades, but like the days of like Binding of Isaac, right? Like you're gonna see some like 3D highly polished Binding of Isaac shit, you know, from indie devs. So like it'll be that level of communication you're used to from an indie developer, but with the backing of being able to like hire more developers, being able to hire more artists, being able to hire more marketing people.
Well, that's a pro, but it's also a con because they have to report to the investors how much money they're making. So
beholden.
The investors are still going to want as much return as possible.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess gamers will get the attention they want from developers now, because that's one of the big reasons why Splitgate is super popular, is because they're communicating with their fan base. They have people in their fan base believing that there will be no hackers in Splitgate, when in reality that's not the case. Like I literally watched someone, and I know a couple people that are unbanned in Splitgate since launch, since their crossplay beta launch, since they said anti-cheat update,
and they've been cheating since then.
Yeah, so it's not rare, like it's not super expensive either. But like, good communication from developers is better than like $1 million PR, I would say.
Do you have we've talked about Tarkov before, and I don't think you ever actually played, or very little maybe, but cheating's a big problem in Tarkov every single wipe, and it's like a broken record hearing the community talk about it and hearing the developers talk about it.
I don't remember. Does what's it called? Does Tarkov use BattleEye, or is it easy anti-cheat? I think it's easy.
I think it's BattleEye.
Either way, EFT hacks are not hard to get. Like it's pretty sad. I mean, I think it was like the wipe before this one is when they started actually cracking down on the marketplace botting.
Yeah.
As well. So it's like, and that was just like an easy freaking AHK script you could run. Yeah, so it's no game, no game is immune from hackers, sadly. And I think that trend will only continue as we start losing things like custom servers and community run servers and community support, because that's really the only way you can, having an admin there 24/7 is how like Battlefield 4 stays mainly cheater free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a bummer, but as long as we keep talking about it, hopefully, players will be aware that it's happening, and maybe we can incite some kind of change, or at least get things going in the correct direction.
The problem is that other side of the coin is very much, you've seen it in the Warzone community, but it's like everybody's cheating. It's like, dog, you have a 0.5 KD. You are not in lobbies with cheaters with the way the skill-based matchmaking works. All right, yeah. You're not into better players, or you have people that are like, this streamer, they're all cheating. It's a cabal of cheaters. They're all hiding from one another. Tinfoil hat on. It's a cheating Illuminati, and like people eat that shit up. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we just crossed over the hour mark, and if you have a little bit of time, I'd like to play a little game to round us out. Yeah, overrated, underrated.
Okay, I see. Gary V nods in agreement.
Yes. But we're remixing it with some gaming topics.
Gotcha.
So, tell me if these topics are overrated or underrated, and why.
All right. I'll keep it short.
Off. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare.
Infinite Warfare.
Yes.
Underrated. Campaign was spectacular.
Yep.
One of the best COD campaigns I've played. Underrated.
Scuff controllers.
I can't comment on that because...
Oh, no. Sponsorship.
Not sponsorship, but I've done videos. I've done a video for them in the past. I'm literally in the middle of working on a video for them right now. So,
all right. I'll mark you down for sellout. Moving on. Battlefield Bad Company.
Oh, okay. Actually, for that Scuff, let me just put it like this. I recommend the Steam controller to everyone, and Valve actually fought a lawsuit over the back paddles with Scuff. So,
wow, I didn't know that.
This is my main controller, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next one was Battlefield Bad Company.
1 or 2, or just the whole sub franchise?
We'll say the whole sub series. Yeah.
Fuck. I want to say overrated, but actually it's very underrated. My brain says overrated, but my heart says underrated, because the destruction in that game we haven't really seen in any other Battlefield game. Being able to completely level a level with have like no standing structures left, they cut back on that in the newer Battlefield titles.
Mm-hmm. So there's reason from a level design,
Yeah.
gameplay design perspective, you get why they would reel it back, but then it makes you wonder how they made it work so well in those two games. So it's like, did they really even need to reel it back? Because it worked,
Yeah, and honestly, like those games were not having crouch. Not having prone is one of the best decisions I think an FPS developer can make. Prone causes so many issues with clipping, with visibility. Just take that shit out. Honestly, it makes everyone's lives
prone.
easier. Fuck prone. But yeah, those games really made their sandbox work well, given the fact that I think being able to completely level a level, a multiplayer map adds to more dynamic gameplay, in my opinion, because one moment you're playing like a grenadier class, blowing up buildings, and the next moment now you switch to something a little bit more long range because there's not much cover left. So you have to, fight these longer engagements. Whereas in Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3, and Battlefield 5, a lot of structures are still up. So that pretty much lets you play the same way that you've been playing since the start. It depends on the creative director, on whoever's in charge of multiplayer for the Battlefield games. It's just two different viewpoints. Do you want more dynamic gameplay or do you want more linear structured gameplay that appeals to a little bit more people?
Yep. Great. RGB, as in RGB gaming components.
Are we talking about like LED strips? Are we talking about in your PC? Are we talking about around your setup that you can't even see, like on your headphones and shit, or just like in general?
Yes, to all of them.
Shit. Overrated as fuck. Honestly, overrated as fuck. Well, actually, see, that's a problem, right? Because on my PC, I would be fine with no RGB, but like back here, like I need the strip. Like I need this lighting strip to make this set look a little bit more dynamic, right? Like I need to be able to like, change the color. And okay, this remote's dead. Son of a bitch.
I get you. Yeah, no, that stuff is at least a little bit nicer for decoration.
Yeah.
I'm sick of like, I was trying to find a mechanical keyboard that didn't have RGB, and it's like impossible. Like I just want a basic I want a basic backlight.
Oh, okay, white backlight.
But
you could just build your own custom keyboard.
I've heard. I don't know if I don't know if I want another hobby though, and I've heard that keyboard hobby is dangerous.
Yes, it is. You got that right, actually. Yeah, it's fucking dangerous as shit.
Okay, next up, TikTok.
It won't change, son of a bitch. All
right. Overrated, underrated TikTok duets and stitches.
Stitches are very underrated. Duets are... I've never used a duet. I've never seen a good duet that I enjoyed. So I'm going to put overrated on that one. But stitches are so underrated for not just getting your... TikTok loves when you use their features, but also... It's really great for like if I see a video that's doing really, really well, that's, not promoting misinformation, but it's like one of those like, today Call of Duty did this, and then that's the whole video. It's like 15 seconds, and it's like it's easy for me to stitch that and be like, so this is what actually happened. So I would say supremely underrated. Yeah, especially for building a community. It's fucking perfect.
Great. All right. Last one. Esports in general, what's going on? Is it overrated? Is it overhyped? Is Mark Cuban on the wrong track? What's going on?
I want to say it's a mix of both. I think from a business perspective, it is a little bit overhyped in that it's a bubble of money similar to the .com bubble. A lot of teams are not profitable. Even some like big orgs like Optic. I remember I think it was something like Optic and 100 Thieves are not profitable.
Jeez, for the way 100 Thieves spends money, I can't believe they're not profitable.
Yeah, but like a lot of esports orgs are not profitable. A lot of it, that money just comes from investors. A lot of it is from sponsorships. A lot of it is from merchandising. A lot of it is from, like I said before, live events. And of course, tournaments, right? And then, depending on if you have like content creators, some of their money from their, content creation. But like, a lot of teams aren't profitable. Whereas you look at traditional sports, and for the most part, because there is franchising for a lot of traditional sports, there's a money share pooled, right? Like even the worst team in the NBA is still profitable. Whereas, like in a lot of franchised esports, that's still there. There is still revenue sharing, but it's like you have to do the buy-in. Like there's a lot of costs that they have to deal with. that teams have to deal with in esports that traditional sports don't have to. Like traditional sports have other avenues of generating revenue, right? Like if your team owns the arena you play in, right? Then they can have like concerts there. Like Madison Square Garden is owned, if I remember correctly, by the Knicks.
Yeah, it's an
So like
event.
events that happen at events that happen at MSG, they make money on. Uh, Same way for that, and you know, like traditional sports is also a little bit easier to market. So because it's been around longer, it brings in more money. Esports still has a long way to go, and I think a lot of the money is just investments for the long term. Um, I do think certain leagues are overvalued. Um, and I think the value from sponsors being pumped into, like, let's say an online tournament is also a little bit overvalued right now. Because I would be interested to see, like, for example, let's say I'm Buffalo Wild Wings, right? And I sponsor a Warzone tournament. How much return am I actually seeing on that? As you
Probably
know,
pretty
like
hard to
Buffalo,
track.
it's hard to track, right? I mean, you have like affiliate codes and stuff like that, but like, are gamers gonna order from Buffalo Wild Wings? Maybe. Like it's doing that, and there's also very, you know, with tournaments, there's not as much, I would say, like brand integration you can do, especially if it's like in this case for COVID online tournaments. How do you do more brand integration? You can't just keep running ads, you know, during the tournament. You know, sponsored by, you know, Buffalo Wild Wings, like that only goes so far. Whereas like you're watching a game on TV, there's a lot more ads. You know, traditional sports have TV agreements as well, so there's money coming in from that, right? Whereas what, like maybe maybe an esports league signs a contract with like YouTube to bring in, you know, exclusive broadcasting rights, or you know, World Series of Warzone is exclusively on Twitch, right? Whereas like the CDL is exclusively on YouTube. Like, is that really smart though? Because like, what's the reach for YouTube? Like, yeah, you're making money from being exclusive with YouTube, but like, what's the reach compared to like being on Twitch? So
Yeah, it
it's,
almost seems like it's too. Almost seems like the industry is too young to be cutting itself up like that already.
yeah, like, and I get there's gonna be growing pains, but like, I think one of the biggest hurdles for esports is not having like a union, right? So like, even all these esports franchises that have, you know, like that are a part of leagues, these leagues don't have like a players union. You know, like the NBA has the NBA Players Association, right? That's their union. Owl doesn't have a union. Um, Counter-Strike doesn't have a union, even though that's not franchised. LCS doesn't have a players union. Um, you know, so it doesn't matter if it's already like, you know, if there's a franchising league, you know, for that specific esport, or there's, you know, it's free flowing like Counter-Strike, but there's no union like anywhere. So it's like players aren't being protected. They could be being taken advantage of. You know, like if you don't have a huge personality, like after you're done being a pro, what do? Do you work for an org as like a consultant? Do you do content creation? Not every pro can, you know, move into content creation and be successful. So it's like, I would say to a degree, esports is kind of overrated and underrated. That's not really like a very easy answer.
I
So
think
yeah.
that was a detailed answer, though. I think you nailed it. All
Yeah,
right, well,
it's,
thanks, Maverick.
thank you so
You
much, dude.
you've made the first episode of Free Roam, I think, one to remember.
That's good. I hope.
I
I hope.
We hit everything I wanted to hit, so I really appreciate it.
Sounds good, man. I'm glad
Great.
to be here. I'm glad for you to, you know, invite me. I'm honored to be the first guest on the
Mm-hmm.
pod, and I can't hope to see, you know, I can't wait to see what you cook up for the next
Thank
couple
you.
episodes.
I have some plans. I have some ideas. If you know
Ooh.
anybody that you think would be interested, feel free to let me know.
All
And
right.
where can people find you? Where should people look?
At MavriqGG on all socials, twitch.tv/MavriqGG. I'm probably not live right now, but you know, go ahead, drop a follow over there. But yeah, you're gonna find a lot of my content on at Subliners on TikTok, at MavriqGG on TikTok, and yeah, drop me a follow on Twitter if you want to stay up to date with, like, you know, the ramblings of a madman who understands the gaming space. Yeah.
Cool. Great. Have a good one.
Peace.